Women have the power to transform this world. We can end crime and violence if we all agree to do one thing: share. Let's share our wisdom, share our time, share our talents, share our finances, but most of all, let's share our love. This is the female solution.
The earth is in the process of transformation. A separation, such as when a cell divides. Half will remain in the third dimension, the old earth, where there is conflict and violence. The other half will ascend to the fifth dimension, the new earth, where no negativity can exist. All across the world, there are internet content creators that are sharing new information to raise your consciousness and prepare you to ascend to the new earth. Join me, Naima Latif, every Wednesday morning, 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. Central Time, and we will introduce to you these voices of enlightenment. Grand Rising, and thank you all for joining us on this Wednesday edition of Voices of Enlightenment. You know, we've been talking for quite a while about this new earth thing, and everybody's trying to figure out, now, how is it that the earth is dividing and some people are going to experience this great peace and other people are going to experience something else? Well, we know that many of our religions have predicted some kind of major thing happening that's going to change our reality. Well, the fact about reality is that there are many realities. There are many experiences that we are all having. Some of you may recall that Star Trek movie, one of the Star Trek movies, where they went back in time and then they saw that there were several different things. In one reality, Captain Picard was a captain. In another reality, somebody else was a captain. In another reality, somebody else. And, all these different realities. And then they all converged. It's an old movie, so I'm not spoiling anything. But that whole quantum physics thing was presented, where there are different realities happening simultaneously, and it can boggle the mind. But every decision we make does in fact create a new reality. How can we possibly fathom that? Well, there are those who have studied that and are helping us to understand it so that we can in fact plan our lives so that we do end up on that new earth, where there's going to be peace and harmony, even as other people may be experiencing that other earth that's full of conflict. But all of these realities exist simultaneously, and we can choose which one we want to experience. Well, our guest today is one who has been able to explain that in a way that helps us be able to grasp it and envision it, so that we can benefit from the choices that we're making. Author Cynthia Sue Larson is the best-selling author of several books, including The Mandela Effect and Its Society, Quantum Jumps, Reality Shifts, and High Energy Money. Now, Cynthia has a degree in physics from UC Berkeley, an MBA degree, a Doctor of Divinity, and a second degree, Black Belt. So she knows how to get physical also. But she's got a second degree Black Belt in Kuk Sul Wan. Cynthia is founder of Reality Shifters, first president of the International Mandela Effect Conference. And she's our guest today as we explore what the Mandela Effect is Now, some of you all may recall what happened years ago. Of course, we know Nelson Mandela. It was named for Nelson Mandela. But there were some people that remembered, didn't he die in prison? And there were so many people that had that distinct memory, and yet he was still alive. So that alternate reality remembering was given that name. Well, we want to introduce to you someone who can explain how that happened. So let us welcome to our show today a fascinating woman who's going to stretch your mind, Cynthia Sue Larson. Thank you for joining us on Female Solution with Voices of Enlightenment.
Thank you, Naima. I'm glad to be here and glad that you're having a program talking about this new earth, this new world that we're already entering into, and it seems pretty amazing and magical.
Oh, quite definitely amazing and magical and mind-boggling.
Yes.
But, you know, one of the things that I guess boggles people's minds when they hear a term like quantum leap, quantum physics, and it, for many people, they can't understand how the time-space continuum can change and that sort of thing. And your book, The Mandela Effect and Its Society, addresses that recent phenomenon where people had distinctly different memories of what happened with Nelson Mandela. They remember him dying in prison after years of incarceration, and yet he emerged and ended up president of South Africa. And, you know, some people say, well, it's just your imagination. Oh, well, you're imagining things. Well, you know, but everybody can't be having the exact same imagined thought.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what makes it different than just misremembering. So if you look up the definition of the term Mandela effect, you're quite likely to see something, if it's not me talking about the definition. My definition is collective alternate memory. So it's a collective alternate memory. That's how I define it in this book, The Mandela Effect and Its Society. And it's really honoring the fact that collectively we have an alternate memory. It's not that we're all misremembering it. We actually remember, for many different reasons, that Nelson Mandela did pass away while he was incarcerated on Robben's Island. Some people say exactly the year, 1987, but it can vary, which might sound really weird. But the cover of the book here is showing two reality bubbles. Technically, they're called Wigner bubbles, after the physicist Eugene Wigner. And it's just an honoring of his legacy, really, where he was pointing out that if we are the observer of reality, that we are actually affecting it. And we see this in some quantum physics experiments. So we have proof that this happens. And therefore, we have proof that it's possible for two observers standing side by side to be at the same place, same time, witnessing two totally different realities, two totally different measurements. And that was experimentally proven and written up in a physics experiment published in 2019. And some of the work for these efforts, like Eric Cavalcanti coining the term Wigner bubble and so forth, these physicists are being honored for their work in physics by their peers, which I'm so glad to see, because usually I'm the one who's honoring these physicists, and it may take decades before the rest of the world catches up and recognizes, wow, look at this. But I think now the technology is moving so fast with quantum computers and artificial intelligence, however you may feel about it. But all these technologies are driving people's interest in, let's get the physics right. Let's figure out what's really going on. So it's not so much shut up and calculate like it was in World War II.
Now, what exactly is quantum physics? Quantum. Okay. What does that mean?
Yeah, a quanta is just, it used to supposedly mean the very most indivisible piece of physical reality. Turns out there are subquantum particles. But so quantum is a word that was coined originally back about And the idea was that we would be able to just look at the building blocks of reality, much the way that we study that there are molecules in the body. And the molecules consist of atoms, and the atoms consist of an electron and a nucleus, and the nucleus has a proton and a, neutron and proton. And so what kept happening is things kept getting smaller and smaller. And at some point, it's kind of like everything sort of broke, the model broke. And instead of having a physical something that you could hold on to, quantum physics ended up in this sort of weird wave-like area where everything is kind of verbing and moving. And these are wave functions that can be calculated mathematically. So we can absolutely work with the math and come up with quantum nuclear power and quantum nuclear weapons, which hopefully we're moving past that. But obviously there's also something in the sub-quantum realm. But just at the quantum realm, as soon as it went from matter, something you could hold and measure, to something that was sort of probabilistic and it's waving, it's kind of like waves of electromagnetic energy. Like you can't see the radio waves coming into your radio, but you know that they're out there. And quantum physics is very much working with wave functions.
So you can literally change the way reality shifts by a changing decision that you make.
Yes. And where you place your measurement and how you place it. Which the physicists will say that they mean that just for the measurement apparatus. And then those physicists like me that have experienced basically miracles and what flat out reality shifts, I'm going to say it's more than that. You can actually change your state of mind, your state of consciousness. You can feel the vibratory frequency of going into fear or something that's not so good. So if you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm terrified of something, well, then you just want to just remind yourself, detach, relax, breathe, have faith in love, have faith in goodness, have faith in earth and nature, whatever you can have faith in, God, whatever for you is the ultimate. And you can rise above the fear. It's possible. And when you do that, you can absolutely witness, especially if you ask, how good can it get? And you stay in that elevated state of reverence and gratitude. That's where these amazing things can really happen. You can feel the energy surge if you're open to recognizing it. And if you meditate regularly so you can become sensitive to it, then like, okay, we got something amazing happening here. And you can be part of actively shifting reality, actively quantum jumping, and all of us together moving out of what might seem like a disaster into a really golden age and a time of peace. These things are not just fiction. It's quite possible.
It's quite doable. I experienced that just yesterday, a shift of mood because I was angry about something. And it's almost as if my reality shifted as soon as I just got into an argument. I was angry, and then I spoke with someone, and I calmed down. And it's like my internal self, I felt the calmness. I felt my blood pressure lower. I felt all of these things. And then the person that I had argued with, they called back and they, made a joke and we're laughing. It's like, even though we were at a distance, something changed, which changed everything else, it seemed.
Yes.
And I think that happens all the time and we're not aware of it. Something can happen and you can use humor and make people laugh. And then there's joy in the air and then something else good happens. Or you can be angry and fussing and cuss somebody out. And then they retaliate by doing something nasty, which creates something else to happen. So we see ourselves creating different realities all the time, but we never consciously think of it as a physical thing. We're physically changing the universe. We're changing the atmosphere. We're changing our surroundings physically as we change our energy. Energetically, we're actually creating a reality.
Absolutely. We definitely are. And you're right. It's not taught that way. It's we've been shortchanged by our educational systems that suppress the curiosity. They tell us don't ask the questions, shut up and learn. But what are we learning? It's more like memorizing.
There you go. That's it. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, I'm going to take a look at how we teach this sort of thing to young people so that they can really shape that reality that we're projecting they're going to live. They're going to live in this new earth. They're going to live in this new society. How can we help them make it happen? So we will be right back after this quick break. We want you all to stick and stay. Don't stray away. We'll be right back after this quick break. We're going to greet our global family listening from all around the world. So stay with us.
We are global transformers, changing the world from the way it is to the way it should be. We are one. Wherever we live on this earth, we are one human family. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to extend a greeting to all the members of our family, whenever and wherever you may be listening around the world. To our family in China, Ni Hao. In India, Namaste. In Japan, Konnichiwa. In Korea, Annyeonghaseyo. In Russia, Здравствуйте. In Germany, Guten Tag. In Poland, Dzień dobry. In France, Bonjour. In Spain, Hola. In Italy, Ciao. In Egypt, Ahlan wa sahlan. In Ghana, Akwaba. In Nigeria, Peleo. In South Africa, Sawubona. In Senegal, Nangadef. In Kenya, Jambo. In Israel, Shalom. In Pakistan, Afghanistan, Palestine, and Saudi Arabia, Assalamu alaikum. Greetings, and may peace be upon you all. Join us live on the on-air radio network called 727-731-5192. We want to talk to you. And we are back. You are watching the Female Solution Global Broadcast. And today we are talking to Voices of Enlightenment. And one of those voices is our dear friend, Cynthia Sue Larson, who is giving us some inner wisdom. She is head of realityshifters.com. And, one of the things that we talk about a lot is how we teach our children to behave, because they will create consequences if they misbehave. But I don't like the punishment incentive that we give them, because what happens is that they'll choose to behave because they're fearing punishment, as opposed to choosing to behave because they understand they're creating. And that's what we want them to do, is to be conscious creators. Now, you are the managing director of Foundations of Mind and creator and host of Living the Quantum Dream. So much of your wisdom that you have shared gives us a different view of what we're creating with our behavior. How do we help those who may not understand, young people who may have been indoctrinated in fear-based teaching based on punishment? How do we help them understand that what they're doing is having an impact, either by the way they're making people feel, or maybe causing some pain, or they can do some good deeds and that will bring joy to someone, which will enhance them? How do we help them see how those things are connected?
Yeah, the sound and video broke up a little bit there, but I think I got the question.
Oh, okay.
Hope you can hear me okay. Yeah. Helping the young people. I've taught young people, and in one summer program that was happening at UC Berkeley campus, There was a young woman in my class. She attended one class, and in the first day, I cover meditation and the importance of what it does for the mind and for just calming us down so that we might feel like we're in a world that's collapsing and we've got no alternatives left. And it's like the walls are closing in for the young person. And this young lady was about 17. She was very challenging. Just pushing all the, like me, it's kind of like she's going to leave the class with no reason, pushing all the boundaries. And so I could see like this was a person she's had obviously a history of feeling like there's a lot going on. At the age of 17, a young person has already possibly seen quite a lot. And quite a lot. So I was teaching different meditation methods, and the one there was one in particular that I did mention, just picturing that all the thoughts that are troubling you are like little clouds in the sky. And just imagine that you can clear the sky to be perfectly blue. So there's no thought at all. And you can just enjoy that for about, 20 seconds, even a minute. Doesn't need to be much time at all. But if you do that once a day, you gain the experience of resetting your nervous system and allowing the hippocampus part of the brain to stabilize and to grow, actually. So you can start seeing, so instead of getting narrowed down like I've got no choices, you start expanding. You can start to feel and sense possible realities around you. It's really true, and it really works. So the next morning, I had that one class with her, and it was a little bumpy. I thought, well, she's going to have an interesting journey. But the next morning, outside the office, she was sitting on the ground outside the office, not in the office. And I thought, oh dear, looks like she's been expelled already. But I just didn't go in the office. I just sat down next to her. And she asked me, can you remind me what it was you were talking about yesterday about clearing your mind? Yeah. Aww. And so I just stopped everything I was doing. I didn't rush in to check in with the office. This is more important. And so I said, of course. And we went through it again. And I figured I might not see her again, and I didn't see her again. But the point is, I think the most important thing is to listen to the young people and recognize that when we can teach methods that we might be familiar with, like I know how to go from that place of feeling like I've got no options, I must, do this vicious crime in order to survive, versus all the options are opening because my hippocampus is growing, and now I'm accessing more realities, all because I'm just once a day, for a few seconds or 1 minute a day, clearing the thoughts out of the sky of my mind. That really is all it takes. And just sitting down with somebody and bridging that gap is all it takes.
Now, some of the things that have been described as what's happening, we've been told that the earth is already making that shift where people who are on that higher vibration are experiencing that peace. They're experiencing in their interactions with people harmony. They're experiencing that, even though we're living in a world where some other places people are at war and fighting and all of that. But the people who are doing as you've described, meditating, being in a state of calmness, attracting calmness in other people, having those non-confrontational conversations where everybody is able to respect each other. They're experiencing that. And yet there are those who are experiencing something else because of the things that they're doing. And what we're told is that people are going to be experiencing this because of the decisions that they're making.
Yes.
Even in the midst of those who might just be, 1 block away in a fist fight because somebody took their parking space, ridiculous things. But in the same place, people will be experiencing different things based on how they're handling things.
Right. That's literally true. Yes. And this is very interesting because in America, when I went to school, we were taught that there's this objective reality. That's absolutely not the truth, because what you and I are talking about now is side by side, literally witnessing 2 different realities. And that is part of the Mandela effect. It's not commonly understood. People tend to think there's a lot of assumptions about the Mandela effect, like like maybe all of, like if I remember Nelson Mandela dying in the 1980s, which I do, then I'd expect that you do too, and that we share other Mandela effects. But actually, they might not all match. It's okay if they don't. It's okay. That's normal for me to have a subjective experience where, like, I might remember the Fruit of the Loom product cornucopia behind the fruits, like in the T-shirts and everything. Yeah.
Some people don't.
And some people don't, and that's okay.
So is it something that, like, if I remember a specific thing, like what is it? One of them, the Monopoly guy with the manacle, some people remember one way, some people remember another way. Is it something that I did specifically that will cause me to tune into that particular reality? What do your studies show? What is the common thing that people may have done or thought that caused them to remember Nelson Mandela dying in 1987, as opposed to people who didn't remember that? Is there a thing that they may have happened, a thought they may have had, something that was common between those people who had that particular memory experience?
I've been for about 30 years looking for that commonality, and I did find something. And two other researchers were also looking. Dr. Taryn Lupo is a chiropractor, and he was looking for what's the commonality. What do we all have in common if we see the Mandela effect? And I cover that in this book. And the third researcher is Dr. Bernard. But it's pretty darn similar because that's at the heart of a reality shift.
Yeah, you broke up a little bit, so I might have missed exactly what was said.
Okay.
What was that common thing that
okay, yeah, I didn't say it yet. All three of us, all three. So here's what's amazing to me. We have three individual researchers looking for pretty much the same thing, working independently. I didn't know that Bernard Beitman was doing what he was doing. I found out along the way that Dr. Taryn Lupo was researching what he was looking into. And I was looking at the Myers-Briggs personality inventory that anyone can take for free on the internet. And it tells you, are you an extrovert? Are you an introvert? So that's the E or the I. And then are you intuitive, or, are you this other choice? And so it's going to go through a set of questions, basically 4 questions, and more than that, to figure out what you are. And it kind of puts you into a category. And I was wondering, is there that kind of a commonality? Yes, there is. There is something that people experiencing the Mandela effect tend to share. And it's something in the Myers-Briggs is called intuitive feeler. It's the NF part. Those are the people that have most of the Mandela effects. It doesn't mean that you have to be an intuitive feeler. It's also known as empath. If you're an empath, you're much more likely to experience Mandela effects. That's the same thing that Dr. Bernard Beitman was finding. He was finding that it's an awareness of being in connection with something greater than yourself, and kind of feeling that connection to others. He's the psychologist. And then Dr. Taryn Lupo found empathy, like I did. He was looking directly at the Mandela effect, and he found empathy was the biggest common factor. He was looking at all sorts of variables. That was the one, just like me, I found intuitive feeler, that is an empath. And then Taryn Lupo found empathy. Empaths are the ones. So it's like the 20% of the population that gets 80% of the Mandela effects is what this means in the term, in what I found. And I think that's fascinating.
So just exploring that thought, is it possible then those people picked up on, I don't know, the despair that Nelson Mandela was feeling at that time? Maybe something happened in 1987 that almost killed him or something. I mean, I don't know. How is it that they tuned into that particular reality and that year, or maybe a period of time? I don't know, it was 87, 88 or 9, whatever. But if people were having that memory, were they empathetically tuning in to a feeling, a feeling of despair that he may have been going through, even though he was somewhere else in the world? But is that possible?
Absolutely, that's possible. Because I've noticed a couple of other people, Jane Goodall, I remember she passed away. It was about a month after Diane Fossey died. And in that reality, I know Jane Goodall died again, but she died a long time ago for me. The first time she died right after Diane Fossey was murdered, and then Jane Goodall was murdered.
I remember, that's interesting you brought her up. I'm remembering her having died a long time ago. And then I saw some things about Jane Goodall. I'm like, wait a minute, isn't she dead?
Right. But you're right. I think you're on the right track about a lot of us feeling empathy, and I felt like no. I felt like when Jane Goodall passed away, I'm like, no, this is getting ridiculous. That's not okay for every female primate researcher to be murdered. No, it's bad that it happened once. This cannot happen again. It cannot happen again. It's almost like, no, stop that. I remember feeling that way. It was such a visceral. I wasn't trying to come up with that reaction. It was pulled out of me. Like, no. And
Wow.
I think if enough of us do that, I think you're exactly right. I think we are changing reality collectively.
With our feelings. Wow.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Your feelings are actually creating your reality.
And it doesn't always work, because when John Lennon died, I felt that no, and he didn't come back to life so far. And then, it's never too late. It would be fine if he came back.
And that's interesting, because there's some people whose deaths have such a massive effect.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering how that is shaping reality.
It does shape reality. And in my book about the Mandela effect and its society, I talk about the society because it's really about us. We're at the core of the Mandela effect. It's not something being foisted on us. It's a gift that's being given to us to start getting us curious and asking questions, which is what our education often represses and tells us don't do that.
Yes.
But I encourage it. We need to ask questions. We need to be curious, and we need to find out, like, what's going on. Well, why would we be noticing that all these products are changing, the labels are changing, movies are changing? What's going on?
You wonder if you found one of the old products with the old label, if it would magically change. Like, what was that? I'm going to think of the movie in a second. Back to the Future.
Yes.
That was one of those things, alternating realities based on choices that you made. That's one of my favorite series.
Yeah.
But we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll take a look at that. Have you experienced something where you made a choice and it's almost like something in the past changed? Has it happened? We'll be right back after this quick break. So stick and stay. Don't stray away. We'll be back in a moment.
Have you seen all the solar farms popping up everywhere? You know, the big fields with the solar panels. There's one in our community. They produce electricity using the clean energy of the sun to send to the power grid to reduce our energy costs. Because not everybody can get solar panels put on their roof the way I have, but everybody can enroll for free to share the energy produced by the solar farms. That's where they were built. You know you're supposed to be getting a 10 to 20% savings on your bill for that, right? Illinois has a goal to transition by 2050 to 100% clean energy. So everybody needs to be connected. People in other communities are already getting their savings. So I'll be by to see you, because they want to make sure you get your savings as well. It just takes a few minutes. I'm Naima Latif. Call me if you have any questions. 312-849-3456.
And we are back. And we're talking to Cynthia Sue Larson, who is author of The Mandela Effect and Society. Well, the Mandela Effect is quite a reality where we are experiencing a memory of different realities. And some people have a very distinct memory of something, and they agree that this thing happened. But I'm wondering, based on kind of the notion that was presented in the movie Back to the Future, if you can do something in the present that could in fact change the past. Now, I thought maybe it would change your perception of the past, but maybe it actually changes something in the past. What does your quantum physics studies tell you about the possibility of actually changing past events?
Well, I've seen research that's done proving that does work that way. Institute of Noetic Science has taken a look at some large-scale studies of retrocausal, or I forget what the word, prayer. It's intercessory prayer for people in the past. And they've done studies that showed conclusively that actually works. And within quantum physics, it makes sense because you can run examples of that kind of experiment to show that a future decision of where you place an observational device impacts what you observe. So you can affect the past from a decision in the future. And that's a proven fact as well. So we've got medical studies that show this does happen. And that's peer-reviewed research that's conducted by the Institute of Noetic Sciences. I mention these things in many of my books. So if people are wondering, where's the proof? I like to cite the original sources and studies.
Yes. I'll put up a few more of your books.
And the other thing that I mentioned, not only do we have them. Yeah, so we've got a lot of evidence to show that this actually is happening. And then we've got physics theories explaining why that might be happening, because quantum theory itself does not differentiate between a future and a decision and something that we're doing right now. And there's even a transactional interpretation of quantum physics that's like a handshake from the future to the past. So it's a transaction that occurs, according to John Kramer and his approach to physics, that this is happening all the time. And it's so it's something that it's kind of a weird idea, because it means that if you're doing something now, you can have hope for the past, you can have hope for your own past and make a difference. And in some languages, like the Irish Gaelic language, is built right into their language that they think that way. So, which is a very old language, Guelga, and it's you have this imprecatory order to the language where you're wishing that the past will go through. You're praying for things to go through in a certain way, and then it can.
So this is really fascinating, because the idea of the past, present, and future, and I, from my understanding, the past, the present, and the future are all the same. And I had an experience where I was told by my husband after he transitioned. That's another whole show, our connection in spirit. But one of the first things he said to me was, the past, the present, and the future are all the same. So whenever you want to see me, just think back in your mind to the past when we were together. Mm-hmm. That was like a mystery to me. Like, how is the past, the present, and the future all the same? I know the past, okay, that's happened, so you can remember it, and then the present is happening now. But how can you travel to the future? So that's always been a fascinating thing with me, especially with movies like Back to the Future, where your future actions affect your past, and then your past actions can affect your future, and all of that. Yeah. So prayer, can you pray for something and change what happened in the past? Would it change your memory, like a Mandela effect thing, where you remember it differently? Maybe you pray and then some traumatic thing that happened, yes, you don't remember it, you remember it differently. How does that work?
That's actually a good method that a lot of coaches, I do private one-on-one coaching with clients, and other people do too. And that's a very effective method that some of us are working with some clients to do some of this past repair, if you will. So it's recognizing that the situation that it was that's still currently traumatizing a person might be malleable, might be changeable. So, because what happens is we tell a story about what happened, and we know that. But what's even trippier is that when you make some of these changes to events that you think used to happen in your life, and you start recognizing that you don't have to have the damage that you think you endured from the past.
Right.
It's possible to transcend that too. And it's not just wishful thinking, because you can start recognizing that just as you'd expect an entire history of decades of flourishing to have occurred if you didn't have the trauma, it's possible to start witnessing that occurring. And so this is not proof for a hardcore cynic or skeptic. They might still say, prove it, have their arms crossed, and like, I don't believe any of this. But it's something very palpable to a lot of people when they recognize that something that had been troubling them and just been a huge mental block or emotional burden that they were just heavily weighing on them every day so they could barely do anything. When that lifts off, it's extremely real. But can it be measured? Like, maybe not to some people's satisfaction, but it absolutely is life-changing. And sometimes you can also witness just amazing, kind of basically miraculous results. Now, in my life, when I write a book, like the book Quantum Jumps, I wrote it within a year. It's 2013. So I started January 1st, had it finished by October. That was very fast. While I was working on it, that Quantum Jumps book, I was looking for all of the physics and everybody that was doing anything in the field. At that time in 2013, I could not find another physicist at UC Berkeley besides Raphael Busso doing the kind of work I was mentioning. After I published the book, I found Yasunori Nomura, who's extremely prolific, but he did not exist. His papers and research did not exist in 2013 in my reality when I wrote the book. But I was wishing after I wrote the book that I could meet someone who was very personable, which Yasunori is. And I did meet with him, have coffee and sit down and chat with him and talk about physics and the ideas that I present in the book. And I was apologizing to him that he's not in the book, but actually he understood that because he's one of the top theoretical physicists in the world. I was thinking I'd have to explain why was I thinking I'd have to explain the physics of it to him? You know, this guy's brilliant. So he understood already. Like, yeah, that happens. And I was like, no, really, you did not exist. I'm sorry that you're not mentioned in the book. I really definitely would have referenced so many of your papers and articles because I sure talk about you all the time now. And he was like, yeah, that's fine. Oh my gosh. And so, yeah, that's Quantum Jumps. And so when people take a look at that book, that's got some of the research in it. And that book, even the cover of that book changed. When I first wrote, I know for a fact, I covered in the book what that means, what's happening there. That's basically bringing together a wormhole on the cover of the book in quantum physics and the multiverse. I'm bringing together the very large astronomy, the cosmos of our celestial surroundings, and then also the very small, this idea of a wormhole that we humans can jump through it with the choice that we make, literally. And so that's what's on the cover of the book. I used to have the explanation for that in that book. It's not there now. That was another reality shift, if you will. So I did describe it. I cover this in my new book about the Mandela effect. It's the second time one of my books has extremely had a huge change in it. That one is noticeable because now there's no explanation in that book as to what the cover means. I can tell you, and it's explained in the book, The Mandela Effect in Its Society. But that's rather huge. My book, Aura Advantage, had another big reality shift as well. And that's a retrocausal one. That one's interesting. So my other book is Aura Advantage. And when that book first came out, I used to get 2 or 3 messages. People would email me or, send letters in the mail. These were vegetarians. They were deeply concerned because I had this paragraph talking about how I said a blessing for my salad before I ate it. And they were horrified that plants have consciousness and that
yes!
those leaves. Yeah. And they were horrified that leaves might be. So I was getting a lot of very concerned people writing. And I started feeling bad I'd ever put that in the book because it was going on for year after year after year. And then it stopped. No more emails, no more letters. And then I didn't really do anything about it. I didn't really pay that. It didn't occur to me. Maybe the book changed. It did. I know when it happened because that's when I stopped getting the letters and emails. But then I wanted to share that passage with another author and I couldn't find it. And so I searched. There are different editions of that book.
The energy of your distress over people's response.
My empathy for people that are vegetarians and they're freaked out because I'm saying a prayer for a salad. I'm honoring the consciousness of the lettuce leaves because they're alive.
Well, I have to tell you this story. I don't know if I've told this publicly, but because I took a course in interspecies communication.
Oh.
And, you know, I want to be able to communicate with everything. And one of the teachers, I can't remember her name right now, but she speaks about the consciousness of plants. And I grow a garden, I grow vegetables and everything. And so I asked her, I said, well, how do plants feel about being grown to be eaten? I mean, are they distressed about that? And she said, well, I know how my plants feel, but why don't you ask yours? So I go out to my garden, and, you know, I'm standing there, and I've got, you know, collard greens, tomatoes, and, you know, squash and all that. And I'm standing there, and these gnats, you know, flying around me, everything. And every now and then want to take a bite out of me, and I'm swatting the gnats, and, you know, I'm trying to tune into my vegetables so I can ask them this question. So I finally make a psychic connection, and I'm, you know, waving away the gnats, and they're, you know, dinging me every now and then. So I'm asking I put the thought out there. I said, how do you feel about being grown to be eaten? And it's like they turned my awareness to the gnats flying around me. And they said, everybody's being eaten by somebody all the time. That's the way of life. Oh, well, that was wise. Because so, you know, it's not upsetting to them. It's just, that's life. And they directed my consciousness to the fact that I'm being bitten right now. So people taking bites out of me right now. That's, you know, everybody's being eaten by somebody all the time. And then I thought about, you know, all the parasites in our bodies and everything. So it's, you know, it's the circle of life, like Mufasa in The Lion King explained. So we don't have to feel bad about eating those that are conscious, even though they're vegetables, because it's okay. You know,
what I
like
what I loved about this little prayer and blessing I was doing for and connecting with something before I eat it was that honoring that we had indigenous natives on all continents, of course, you know, every continent. But here in North American continent, there were Native and Indigenous Americans who were always saying a blessing, either before a hunt or before doing any gathering. So everything that they're eating, they're connecting with it. They're feeling that blessing, that connection. They're sharing their love, and they're honoring and their respect and their reverence. So much gratitude, so much love. And I wanted to bring that back. And that's what I was putting in that book, that this is gone now. It's gone. Because I felt it might, but I was empathizing with these.
So I can empathize it into your book again.
That would be a flip flop. And I've got in my book about the Mandela effect, I've got a glossary showing that a flip flop is where, you know, it's one way for a while, then it flips, like Chick-fil-A, the spelling changes, and it's this, and then it's that, and it's going to a third state. And so these ideas are so amazing. And that's the new book about the Mandela effect, where I've got the glossary.
It is amazing, though, that you know, I have understood that everything is energy and everything is affected by energy. One time my computer shut down, and I, you know, like it just did. One time, but I had this project I had to get done. I was on a deadline, and I was stressed, and like I, you know, couldn't call my tech person to figure out what to do. So I laid hands on the computer and prayed. You know, it started working.
Yes.
And I got that project finished.
Yes.
Well, I mean, later on, but then it started working.
Yeah, I share experiences with that in my book, Reality Shifts, because you can literally bring things back. You can heal things too. I love things. I give my house a kiss when I say goodbye to it, feeling gratitude for it. So yeah, and then you can feel the love in the house, and there's love that you can share with everything, gratitude that you can share for everything. You can be in love with every single aspect of your life and live like you're living a lucid waking dream of love in this world. And that's how we bring this new world into being. We create it just with the thoughts that we're working with. We're not perfect. We grumble, we complain, we get frightened, we get sad. Yeah. We get angry. But we reset back, do the blue sky clearing of our thoughts, and then keep coming back to the love and the gratitude, and realize we're building a garden together, because we are. This is the new Shambhalats and the new age, the fifth world. We're building it. It's real.
Yes, it is. We're going to take one last quick break and come back and look at the things that we should do in terms of creating that new world. What will that new world look like based on us being in harmony with everything? So we'll be right back after this last break. We want you all to stick and stay. Don't stray away. We'll be back after this, so stay with us.
Welcome to Master Force with Mushim Suit. Join us each week on Thursdays at 7 a.m. Central, live on Facebook and YouTube on the Female Solution page, as we dive into powerful topics designed to assist you in mastering your life force. Our conversations feature a diverse lineup of experts, all dedicated to your growth. Tune in weekly to discover new ways to elevate your spirit and raise your vibration. And remember, we are ascending.
Yes, we are ascending. Well, I'm Naim Latif here, ascending with one of the voices of enlightenment, Cynthia Sue Larson, author, lecturer, and expert in quantum physics, and certainly one who is bringing us some enlightenment today, because we are changing reality. Now, one of the things that I look at is how the way we have structured the world that causes so much pain and suffering, everything from the way we raise animals in these corporate farms and their suffering, to the way we're treating our vegetables and the GMOs and all of that. So knowing that all of these things are alive and feeling this stress and it's affecting the atmosphere because they're in pain, and you know, our economy and people suffering because they can't make ends meet, and all the energy of the distress. And if you're empathetic, you're going to feel the distress that people are feeling. And even the way we are misusing the earth and its environment. And you know, I'm looking at what new systems do we need to create that are not causing pain. Yesterday, our host did a show about cryptocurrency. So the fact that it's decentralized, where everybody can have access to it, perhaps creating a new equal kind of way of sharing or interaction. And then, of course, we're looking at the solar energy and not having these oil wars, because we're getting our energy from the sun, which is, you know, given to us for free. So can we use things that will perhaps lessen conflict? When we look at a new earth, are we looking at creating new systems that don't cause pain? Is that part of what will evolve as our consciousness changes?
Yeah, the new earth comes through a great cleansing. So it's a rebirth. So it means just like the Hopi talk about the fifth world coming, and it comes when the extinct animals and plants are back again. And the Mandela effect is showing that's happening. We've got the coelacanth fishes coming back from extinction, the giant Galapagos tortoise back from extinction. So the Mandela effect is bringing us parts of this prophecy of the Hopi prophecy rock, showing the two worlds splitting apart. And that's exactly what you're talking about on the show. So the fourth world is now occupied on this line on the rock that kind of fizzles out, with world leaders having two hearts, two-heartedness. So it's no integrity of the heart. It's a duplicity of the heart. If you're wondering, what does that mean? Don't go with the duplicity. The inverted, all the systems you're mentioning that became inverted because of power hunger, that would be the education system, a very inverted system right now, all the way through to publishing papers. It's twisted, it's warped. It's not the way it should be. The health system got inverted. People see that.
Now it's sick care. They you pay to stay sick, basically. That's
yeah. And so these inversions, the system needs to be cleansed. So instead of it being a total control drama where we're using narcissists or oppressing the world through some kind of oppressive top-down you will comply mechanism, there needs to be a much more upward listening, respect, honoring with integrity and empathy of all beings. And so that's what needs to happen. It needs to be, like I said, a cleansing. That's what the Hopi said is going to need to happen. What does that mean? It sounds dramatic. So a cleansing is like disclosure. It could happen all at once, or it could be kind of trickled in. I think we're getting it trickled in. We're having a gradual disclosure and a gradual ascension with the gradual recognition of all these inverted systems that need an overhaul. So what do I mean? Imagine that everybody knew everything you're thinking. How would you create the world then to be respectful? Because if everyone knows what you're thinking, and believe me, we're going to get to that point. It's happening. You're doing the animal and plant communication. Pretty soon, everyone's doing that. Everyone's channeling. Everyone's talking to their dead ancestors. When we get there, and we're going there, for sure, that's where we're headed. And so that's going to be part of this process of overhauling everything. And I mean everything. So it doesn't need to be a dramatic cleanse the world with a flood, I hope. My favorite question is, how good can it get? And so I am hoping that we do not need to do worldwide wipeout this time. I'm hoping this is the first time there doesn't need to be a dramatic cataclysm. Now, the Hopi talk about these cataclysms. The most recent one was the Great Flood. We now have evidence that did happen for real on the planet. And we've got all the ancient texts, the Sumerians, and just about everybody talking.
It did happen.
And physical proof too. That did happen. So I don't need to go there and scare everybody. It did. Some people say it's going to happen again. I'm saying, how good can it get? I'm saying the Mandela effect. And the Mandela effect shows us that we work together. We can change. The kidneys have moved to the safety of under the rib cage. They used to be in a very dangerous position. 8 billion people on the planet have had a physical upgrade inside our bodies.
Wow.
And we did it without knowing we're doing it. How much can we do when we know what we're doing? When we know that we're going to be wishing together, how good can it get? Not just for me, but I need to know how good can it get for each and every one of the listeners today. And I mean it. I really mean it. Because if it's not as good as it can get for you, then we haven't really achieved the heaven on earth, fifth world that I need us to attain. And that's what this show is all about. So that's really this intention and this burning feeling of purpose that each of us has, like you have it to have this show, and you're bringing the wisdom leaders together and talking about this, and people are coming to listen to the show and listen to these ideas. And now together we're building it. This is how it happens.
This is how I have to think it and imagine it. Oh, what was the song? Imagine all the people. The Beatles song. I mean, a lot of our musicians are putting the thought out there that we can create this if we believe it.
Yes.
And if we would watch programs that show us this beautiful new earth, this wonderful joy and peace, if we can keep seeing that instead of watching the other stuff that will scare you, and if you put energy toward that, you'll create that. But if you choose to create the beautiful world, as you say, how good can it get? How good can it get? Let's envision how good.
And then we can get to the technology. You're talking about the technology. Basically, it's like 0 point energy. It's anti-gravity. It's free energy, basically free energy from the ether that people said, oh, that doesn't exist. They only studied one kind of ether, and the people that studied subquantum kinetics, like Paul Laviolette and others, some of them have died under mysterious circumstances or gone missing recently. Don't worry about it, because it starts with we, the people of the earth, not just one country, but we, the people of the earth. We're coming together. We're saying, how good can it get? We need the technology. The Hopi Prophecy Rock. Now there's a second Hopi Prophecy Rock. I've been watching that rock for 26 years now. And for the first time, now there are 2 of them. The second one has the technology on it to clean up the earth after this purification, to clean and cleanse the earth, and to heal the earth and to heal nature and ourselves. So that's the way this really works. You just imagine the technology, it actually does arrive. The indigenous people say that original thought is that all of existence existed at the beginning, which is all time, as you said. It was always there. All the ideas are always there. We can access them. The Big Bang, it's not like the beginning. It's like it's always there. This changes cosmology. The man I mentioned, Paul Laviolette, he wrote great books about all this. So if people are wondering, what am I talking about? I know I'm touching on things very quickly here. These are big ideas, and there's a lot of context and background behind all of them. So I'm not just talking airy fairy pie in the sky. This is quite real. And we're living in the most amazing, magical time ever. And I'm just so excited to be part of it with you.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for lending your wisdom. Now, is there a website that people can go so they can order your books, hear more of your wisdom, see where you're going to be?
Yes. Yeah. That's realityshifters.com. It's inclusive because it's all of us. We are, even if you don't think you're a reality shifter, you are. You're changing your own reality with your thoughts, with your feelings. You're doing this every day, just like what we've been talking about. It's all of us. We're part of it together. And
yes, we are.
We're going to find out together. How good can it get?
How good can it get? Love it. But thank you so much. I'm so grateful that you joined us today and inspired us. And I'm looking forward to co-creating this beautiful new earth with you. And thank you all for joining us.
Thank you so much, Naima.
Voices of Enlightenment. We've come to the end of our show today. If you missed any broadcasts, go to our website for the audio and video archives at www.thefemalesolution.com. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to thank all of you who participated in today's discussions. And to our global family joining us from all around the world, we say thank you. To our family in China, xie xie. India, dhanyavad. Japan, arigato. Korea, kamsamnida. Russia, spasiba. Germany, danke. Poland, dziękuję. France, merci. Spain, gracias. Italy, grazie. Egypt, shukran. Ghana, madasi. Nigeria, eshe. South Africa, Ngiyabonga. Senegal, Jaref. Kenya, Asante. Israel, Toda. Pakistan, Shukriya. Afghanistan, Tashakur. Saudi Arabia and Palestine, Shukran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Thank you, and may peace be upon you and the mercy of God and God's blessings.